Culture, according to our book, is learned patterns of behavior and attitudes by a group of shared people. There are many different cultures you can identify with, some examples being ethnicity, race, nationality, gender, age, and religion, just to name a few. Now, some people might not consider gender to be a culture. However, I believe that it is. Let us break down the definition of culture to show why gender can be considered a culture. Take the gender of male, for example. First, we can determine that males are a group of shared people. We can determine this because males all share the physiological characteristics of being male, which separates them from females, creating a group. Now let's look at the learned patterns of behavior part. Have you ever walked into a sports bar during football season on a Monday night? Just observe the patterns. There are tons of males drinking beer and cheering on their favorite football team. Now, I'm not saying that there are not females that do this too. Trust me, I love watching football. But this is just one shared behavior that many men take part in. The concept of gender identity doesn't seem like it would be that complex. Either you are a male or female, right? However, I believe that the concept of gender identity is much deeper than that. In fact, the definition in the book of gender identity is the identification with the cultural notions of masculinity and femininity and what it means to be a man or a woman. This topic is very interesting to me, which is why, being a female, I studied the cultural construction of the male gender for my cultural identity project. For the research process, I conducted interviews and carried out observations. I observed males for at least 2 hours. I watched closely how males interact in a group, but I also observed them individually. I also conducted 2 interviews. Both males who were interviewed were 20 and 21 years old, and I know them well enough for them to be comfortable giving me honest answers. My observations took place constantly. To get accurate observations, I felt it necessary to see the way males act doing everyday occurrences. It sounds creepy, but I observed males when they did not even know they were being watched, as they were alone, and when they were hanging out with a group of other males. Throughout my research process, the theory which I chose to pay closest attention to and dig deeper into was the co-cultural communication theory. This theory, as defined in our intercultural communications textbook, is used to understand how people's location in a social hierarchy influences their perceptions of reality regarding, among other things, relational issues or problems. Co-cultural communication looks at the way dominant and non-dominant culture groups interact. It studies the basic function of language between the dominant and non-dominant groups and how it is formulated and carried out. In my research, what I was looking for was whether or not males often see themselves as the dominant culture group over females, and what types of things indicate that they believe this. Throughout my interviews, I carried out an inverted Fettle format, asking basic questions and then digging deeper into the responses of the interviewee. Some questions asked were, what is your definition of masculinity? Do you believe people of society see masculinity as a more important characteristic than femininity? And do you see yourself as the dominant culture group when compared to females? My hypothesis was that even though many people believe roles of males and females in today's society have changed from previous roles, the truth is that males are still expected to uphold the stereotypical ideals of masculinity such as strength, leadership, and intelligence. In analyzing the data collected, the conclusion I came to was that men are still seen as the dominant culture group in society today. Masculinity is defined as strength, confidence, and physical superiority. And females have pressure from society to act and look a certain way, but males have some of these same pressures as well, just in more subtle forms. I found that men still view themselves as the dominant culture. Things I observed that suggested this were the way they talk about women. The terms and names used are not exactly positive. I would never hear males say a woman is beautiful, or she has a great personality, or that they would like to date her. They would refer to a woman as hot, or they would comment on a physical characteristic, or they talk about her as if she was just someone they wanted to sleep with. These observations show that women are looked at as objects rather than a culture group of intelligence and equality to men. When conducting my interviews, the answers were given were very similar. Both interviewees described masculinity as strength or physical superiority, while they described femininity as compassion, caring, and elegance. Males see these characteristics of femininity as less important than the characteristics of masculinity. When asked why, the response was that society wants strong leadership, and strength and physical superiority is the cornerstone of strong leadership. I also asked if males thought that society would think of them differently if they embraced characteristics of compassion and caring as part of masculinity. Both people I interviewed agreed that society would look at them differently. They said it is taboo for men to show female characteristics, and they would likely be looked at as homosexual. When I straight up asked the male participants if they thought they are the dominant culture when compared to females, the response was, yes, they do, because throughout history and even in today's society, leaders are usually strong, intelligent males, which shows that people look for those qualities in people whom they trust and follow. The data I collected is not anything new. In fact, there is a lot of information out there supporting it. We see evidence of what masculinity is everywhere we turn. It is in commercials, TV shows, and even Disney movies. Just think about the looks of Prince Charming, Hercules, and John Smith, just to name a few. If you get on YouTube, you will find various videos discussing the matter of masculinity and femininity, and the social construct of what a man or woman should be and act like. In doing this project, I often got lost myself and ended up on YouTube for hours watching the videos relating to this topic. The following is just one clip of a commercial I found on YouTube, which shows the expected roles of males throughout a lifetime.
Get born, get slapped, and cry out loud, learn to walk and talk, make your parents proud, be good at sports, play hard, run fast, careful climbing the rope in gym class, lift weights, be strong, know how to fight, be safe and stay up all night, be tough, be cool, be full of pride, don't show your sensitive side, go out with your friends, but be a gentleman too. Then find the perfect girl who'll say, I do. Go check out a noise and never be scared. Don't waste your life on the couch in your underwear. Rake the leaves from the hedge and mow the yard. Honey, can you open this jar? Have a kid, it's time for a family. Before you know it, you'll have 3. Don't use a map, always know where you are. Change a flat tire while they wait in the car. You've reached a stage where you feel at ease. You've come this far and it wasn't a breeze. You can take on anything, of course you can, because you're a man.
Now that you're comfortable with who you are, isn't it time for comfortable skin? At last, there's Dove for Men. Introducing Dove Men Plus Care, a new range of body and face wash. Be comfortable in your own skin.
Throughout this research process, I have learned many things. I always knew the stereotypes of masculinity and femininity existed, but I did not realize how prevalent they are in society today. In studying the co-cultural communication theory, I learned how often dominant and non-dominant groups are portrayed, and that a dominance still exists in the culture of gender. The information I have learned is critical in understanding better ways to communicate with those of the dominant or non-dominant group for myself. Being competent about intercultural interactions can help to solve challenges in political and economic occurrences. It can also help us to better figure out a way for dominant and non-dominant culture groups to work together. Being knowledgeable about your own culture and that of others can help individuals to avoid conflict and learn to understand each other's differences.